Okay, so let's work with this hidden line here. Okay, now this elevation coincides with this elevation. Um, so let's go ahead and from the end points of this line, make some more construction lines and transfer those over. Okay, now I'm having trouble visualizing, but we're talking about this line in the front view, and I'm just wondering, um, this line indicates a change of plane. Okay, in this case, we're moving. We have the 1.625 diameter, and then we have the 2.125 diameter. So, both of these lines basically indicate the same change of plane. That's where those two different diameters meet. So I'm wondering what that means up here. Okay. One other question I have is that we also have this intersection point we haven't accounted for this at the same line. So let's go ahead and bring up construction line for that point as well. Okay. So let me switch to my visible layer. Okay. And, kind of like before, I'm expecting, we had the square rectangle shape because we had this flat shape and this flat shape. Okay. The only thing that's concerning me is the change of plane right in the middle of this line. Okay. What happens there? And it looks like that when we're in this area, our rectangle shape will be that entire length. But then we switch to this area, and I think we will only be working from here back. So it looks like the line will jog. And so let's just draw that in and see how it looks. So I'm going to start off at this point because that coincides with the right side of this line that we're working on. And since we're on this portion of the object, excuse me, the smaller diameter, this is where I said it's going to use the full length of that hidden line here, okay, which runs from this construction line to this construction line, okay. What I could do is just draw one continuous line across there. That'll be fine. Okay, so when it reaches this point here, it goes down until it reaches this change of plane line. And it's at this point I decided that it's like one of my lines got a little off. Something's not quite right there. I don't know if it's my construction line or I'll have to figure that out. Now I've lost track of what I was going to do. Okay, maybe I need to go ahead and figure out what's going on with that. One of my lines are jogging, and I can't tell which. Maybe it's not jogging. Maybe, no, those are actually parallel. There's something really close going on here, and that's what the problem is. Okay, so let me just go with what I drew. Assume I drew it right, and then I'll go to here, and I'm gonna have to look at that when I get finished. Okay, so we got to the change of plane there. Okay, and then I said that instead of going the full length of this hidden line, we're only going to worry about, after it changes planes, we're only going to be talking about the distance from here to here. So that would mean at this point it would have to go back up and then over. And I know I missed the mark on that one. And then I can fix that with grip edit when I get done. And then it will go to the back here, and then back to where we started. And I need to fix this. Huh. Not sure why that happened either. Okay, so I think I was right. I think it does do that little tiny jog right there. Okay, so because there's a construction line, and this is obviously on an old construction line, so that must be what happens. So let's take a look. Turn off my construction layer. Well, actually, let me put this on old construction. Okay, and then turn off construction. Alright, got some strange business going on here. Okay, so let's take a look and see what we can clean up. Now I'm pretty sure that, remember when I talked about earlier that, you know, the cylinder of course is more narrow on the bottom than it is at the center line here. So usually hidden lines just don't go and end in space. Okay, so let's try to figure out what's going on here. So I said earlier that this was, you know, of course, since this is the widest part, this line is under this line. Okay, if you can imagine that. So what must be happening here is we must have this hidden line that goes out to, well, let's see. It goes out in this direction. I'm just trying to figure out exactly how far. From this point to this point, to the edge of that circle should be what it is. So let me just take a measurement just to see if that even makes sense. I will tell you that this has turned into a very difficult missing view problem. I'll never give you anything this hard on your own. Okay, so just bear with me. Okay, so that does make sense. That will go and stop at that line. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there, and it also makes sense that we would see this line come up, I believe, from here to here, when it, except this would be a visible line. Okay, because we would see this change of plane, and since this is a change of plane, I need to trim here and here. Actually, that needs to be trimmed as well. I don't think this line needs to be there at all. Okay, now I'm noticing something, and I was waiting to see this. Look above the center line here, and you know, I talked about similar shapes with inclined planes. Well, you can think about a cylindrical surface as a collection of inclined planes. Okay, and so I'm wanting to see some similar shapes in these two views. Okay, so if I were to basically, I'm not putting this in the exact place right now, but let's say that this was a center line. So this area in here is similarly shaped to this area in here. Okay, and again, it's just skewed, but that is, you know, same stair steps there. Okay, and that's what I would expect to see. And sometimes it helps to actually hold something in your hand. My computer's freezing up on me a bit. Okay, so that looks right now, and let's go ahead and add our center lines. Actually, okay, we have one going through the hole, and this might help us get a little perspective. extend that to the end. Then I'm going